It's 282,000 to 1 in real life. We are going to be making the rings 3/4 inch thick. We'll be off proportionally by 4,000 times. Like we're 4,000 times disproportional.
Yeah.
Which is the most we've ever been off on a cake, which is kind of silly. Welcome back to Oakleaf Cakes Bake Shop in Boston. This week we have a really exciting cake. It's going to be for a bar mitzvah, and it's going to be a pool themed and a planets and space themed cake all in one. So what we're going to do is build a series of planets that are actually going to be pool balls, or decorated like pool balls. And it's all going to be on structure and on pool cues, and there's even going to be an exciting Saturn ring. So we have the sketch that is a series of pool ball planets with a galaxy space base. And then we have figurines of the bar mitzvah dude and his trophy. He's really well known for his pool skills or his billiard skills. And then we've also got his 3 pet cats mixed in the design. So I'll pass it off to Tyler. He's going to talk about how the structure of this cake gets built, and then we'll go from there.
So the structure on this is pretty straightforward, actually. We got a plywood base here, got another piece of plywood. This is all oak plywood, so it's really nice and strong. And then this ring here of the planet it supports this, and this guy we had to make really heavy, so we have actually extra iron in there. So all of these planets have a pipe that's running through them. I don't know if you can kind of see that on the bottom there, but they have a pipe that's going through them, and the pipe on these ones allows these to stand on these threaded rods, and so they just slide right on to the threaded rod, no problem. So that's just a pipe going up into a piece of plywood. On this particular one, everything is actually floating there and balanced. And so you'll see that this ring actually comes straight out of the board there, and it's just a separate piece. And we just cut a slot in the base, and then this sits right down in there, and it just wedges in place. And so it's tilted back a little bit. And then this planet bottom, we had to make extra heavy because we actually did this design once before on a TV show, Duff Till Dawn, on Food Network. And we didn't think everything all the way through. And so we did the bottom side crispy like we did here, and the top side we had cake, but the cake was heavier than the crispy, and so this always wanted to flip over upside down. And so to alleviate that this time, we made sure that the bottom had a lot of mass to it. So we got a ton of metal actually in the base there, along with a bunch of fondant and other heavy stuff, so that this side will definitely be much heavier than the top side will be.
So for Saturn's rings decoration, I did airbrushing so that we could get sort of the gradient in color of the rings. So I've covered up my base with some plastic, and then that way I don't get any of the ring color on there. And then I can take the ring off and then airbrush the Galaxy Space Dot base later on. So once the ring was done, I put that aside, and then I got to work on the space base. I covered up the LED lights with little fondant plugs. That way I didn't have to wipe them clean later on. So we covered those lights up, and then in the very center of the base, I wanted it to look sort of Milky Way spiral galaxy-like. So the inside of that would be very light in color compared to the black outside. So I arranged the plastic into the center of the board, and I'll do my colors and I'll move the plastic as I go, and then that'll create the depth of field color changing effect that I want. And then in the end, we'll remove the plastic wrap, and then I can airbrush all the dark color and fade it all together.
The other cool feature about this is going to be the lighting element. So around the outside ring here of the planet, we're going to have a bunch of LED strip lighting, so it kind of looks like a big neon light around the outside because they're having a bunch of neon at the event. The base is going to be decorated like our Galaxy airbrushing, and then there'll be little tiny holes in there, which I spent the better part of today creating this guy here, this monstrosity of LED lights hooked up to a wall wart. And these guys are going to poke through the base and give white and blue lights so it looks like stars shining up through the base as well. And so that'll be a cool little effect. So that's the structure. I'll let Amanda take it from here.
The largest planet I sculpted actually reverse of the other ones. Since it didn't have a pipe going up through the center, it had, at least for the display, because it was so big, I sculpted that one upside down. So I did the Rice Krispie treats first, crumb coated it. It's easier to crumb coat this large of a sphere, the bottom half or the bottom dome first. So I did that, sculpted it, crumb coated it, and then we flipped it over onto its pipe, and then I did the top dome, which was a lot easier. In order to get the sphere shape accurate, what I did was make some cardboard templates using, I traced one of our cake pans of the appropriate diameter of the sphere I was working on, traced with our cake pans half of a circle so that I could hold up the cardboard to the cake before and as I was sculpting in order to get a helpful visual to sculpt the sphere. Covering these sphere cakes in fondant was an excitement. You can't cover a whole sphere with one piece of fondant unless it's very small, like the very smallest planet I did with one piece of fondant, but the other ones needed to be done half and half, but with gravity in mind, where the biggest piece is most of the way on top of the planet so that the fondant doesn't want to just slide off the sides. So I covered maybe 2/3, almost 3/4 of this largest sphere with one piece, and then was able to glue in a second piece in a smaller surface area. Next up, we have to do some painting of the numbers on the balls, and they need to be accurate to pool balls in real life. So we have the yellow 9 ball, the blue 2 ball, and the red striped 11 ball. And hanging out in the background, you can see is the figurine of the birthday boy in his pool competition jersey, along with the figurine of his gold trophy. So the smallest planet was a number 2 ball, and that has the trophy on the top, and we decided it should have rings, but instead of the standard circular rings or elliptical rings, we did the pool rack, the triangle wooden pool rack as the quote-unquote ring. So that we made out of cardboard so that it was lightweight, and then I covered it in fondant and painted it to look like wood. There are a couple notches that we carved out from the underside that will fit into the dowels so that it will kind of hang or look like it's suspended in midair when the cake is finished. Fun fact about Saturn's rings. In real life, they are 280,000 kilometers from end to end, while only being 1 kilometer thick. We're going to be making our Saturn ring out of 3/4 inch plywood, so that means we're 4,000 times proportionally incorrect. So if Saturn's rings were 3/4 of an inch thick, they would proportionally be 3 1/3 miles wide. So because we can't do that, we have to bend the rules a little bit and make it look good. So that's a fun fact. So our bar mitzvah dude's pet cat is named Mitt, and he wears a bow tie because he's super dapper. And on top of the green striped ball is where the cat sits. So we built that cat figurine directly onto the ball once it was finished being decorated. That way the cat sort of takes the shape and looks like he's really sitting nice and snug on top of that ball. So delivery was to the Museum of Science. We had to go through the loading dock, of course, which ended up being a pretty far walk to get all the way to the event space. That orange ball got pretty heavy. Tyler needed a little bit of a rest, but with a few moments to recover, we continued on our way. There was quite a bit of setup to do, so once we got in there, we got all the planets on the poles and put all the figurines on top. And then Tyler rigged up all the electricity with all the lights and the plugins and extension cords, and there was a lot to assemble, but we got it done. All in all, we are very proud of this Pool Ball Galaxy cake and how it turned out. We are excited to potentially do another gravity-defying cake in the future. Pool balls or not, any excuse to do anything space-related is definitely excitement on our end.